Hello students, welcome back to your science class. So students, in the previous class we were talking about the questions which is related to that of the sample paper, and today also we will going to continue with the same. So see here the question is, so in this one students you can see the question is, the first question is that which of the following statement about the given reaction are correct. So here a reaction is given that is includes the iron when react with the water, then there is a formation of a iron oxide and hydrogen is released along with it. So hydrogen gas is released along with it, and there are some statement is given below and we have to find out that which statement is correct. Iron metal is getting oxidized. Yes, that is correct student, because iron metal is combining with that of oxygen to form the iron oxide. So Fe3O4 formation of that proves that iron is getting oxidized. Water is getting reduced. So yes, water is getting reduced since there is a removal of oxygen occur through that of water. Water is acting as a reducing agent. No, that is the wrong one, because water is what? Here it is acting like an oxidizing agent. So this is a wrong statement that water is getting reduced, but instead of that, water is actually what? It is an oxidizing agent. Water is acts as an oxidizing agent. This is also correct student, that water is getting it is an oxidizing agent. So according to that, out of this the C1 is correct, which proves that. So here the answer it will be that iron metal is getting oxidized. So third one will be the correct option. Now let us move on, see the next one. Which of the following is an exothermic process? Now exothermic is what student? It is that process in which heat is generally evolved. That is an exothermic process. Now let us see here that which one is an exothermic process is. So the first one is reaction of a water with quicklime. So exothermic process, which one is an exothermic process? The first one, reaction of water with quicklime. Second one, dilution of an acid. Then third one, evaporation of water. And then sublimation of camphor. So you can see here in all the three students, which one is the correct? Reaction of water with quicklime is yes, it is an exothermic reaction in which there is a formation of a calcium hydroxide and a huge amount of a heat energy will be released. So first one is what? That is an exothermic process. Second one is dilution of an acid. Yes, when we used to dilute that of an acid by adding water, by adding the acid into that of the water, then also there is a release of a heat from it. So dilution of an acid is also a good example in which we can say it is an exothermic process. Then the next one is evaporation of water. So evaporation of water, basically it involves the it will take water from the surrounding and get evaporated. So this is an endothermic process. This is not an exothermic process. Sublimation of camphor also, there is a need of a heat so that it can sublime. So this is also not a exothermic reaction. So if we look at all the options students, the first one will be correct, that is first and second, in which reaction of a water with quicklime and dilution of an acid, these two will make the reaction as an exothermic reaction, while other two is not an exothermic process. Okay, now see here, 3 beaker labeled A, B and C, each containing 25 ml of water were taken. Okay, in each of them we have taken 25 ml of water. A small amount of a sodium hydroxide and hydrous sulfate and sodium chloride were added to the beaker. So NaOH, CuSO4 and NaCl are added to the beaker, A, B and C respectively. Okay, it was observed that there was an increase in the temperature of the solution contained in beaker A and B, whereas in case of a C, the temperature of the solution falls. So which one of the following statements are correct? In beaker A and B, exothermic process has occurred. In beaker A and B, endothermic process has occurred. In beaker C, exothermic process has occurred. In beaker C, endothermic process has occurred. So obviously in beaker A and B, since the temperature increases, so exothermic process has occurred. So first is correct. And in beaker C, there is a temperature, fall in temperature, so endothermic process has occurred. So we can say here that the fourth one is correct. So according to that, first and fourth will be the correct option. This one, it is the correct option. First one is also correct, while the fourth one is also correct, student. Okay, so whenever there is a release of a heat, if the reaction is what in which the heat is released as a byproduct, then that reaction we called as an exothermic process or exothermic reaction. But if in a reaction the heat is absorbed, then such kind of a reaction is what? It is an endothermic reaction, and due to which the temperature falls down of that of the beaker or wherever the reaction is going on. While in exothermic, the reaction will increase, the temperature will increases, proves that it is what? It is an exothermic process. Okay. Now see here, we will move to question number 4, student, and question number 4 is what? While performing an activity in the lab, 4 students added sodium sulfate solution to 4 different solution taken in 4 different test tube. In which test tube is a white precipitate observed after the reaction? As you can see here, the pictures are given. In the first one test tube, it is containing of a barium chloride, and we are adding the sodium sulfate to it. So, okay, this is the first one. Second one, you can see that test tube which is containing solution of a sodium sulfate, and here we are pouring the sodium sulfate into the test tube which is containing the solution of a sodium chloride. Then the third one is the test tube containing solution of a sodium sulfate and pouring into the test tube containing the solution of a ammonium chloride. Then fourth one, test tube containing solution of a sodium sulfate and with the test tube which is containing that of the hydrochloric acid. Okay, so by this what is the result that we will find? See here, out all of this the precipitation will be formed when sodium sulfate will going to react with that of the barium chloride. Okay, so Na2SO4, it will react with the barium chloride to form the barium sulfate plus sodium chloride will be formed. Okay, so by this whole we have seen that this is the first one where there is a formation of a white precipitate occur. Okay, Na2SO4 plus BaCl2, that will gives a BaSO4 plus BaSO4 plus NaCl will be formed here. Now see here, electrolysis of water is a decomposition reaction. The mole ratio of hydrogen and oxygen gases liberated during electrolysis of water is. So, electrolysis of water, you know that electrolysis is a kind of a decomposition reaction, student. Obviously, with the help of electricity, when we try to decompose anything, that we will call as electrolysis method. With the help of the electrolysis method only, we can do so. Okay, so water can be electrolyzed, it undergoes the process of a decomposition reaction, and the ratio of the hydrogen to that of the oxygen gases which is liberated during the electrolysis of water, that is, see, 1:1, 2:1, 4:1 or 1:2. So you know that the ratio will be what? It will be 2:1. So 2 moles of that of hydrogen and 1 mole of oxygen, they combine together to form water. So answer, it will be the second one, and that is 2:1. Now see here, aluminium is used for making cooking utensils. Which of the following properties of aluminium are responsible for the same? So you know that aluminium is made for cooking utensils. So obviously it must have a good thermal conductivity. Yes. Second one is a good electrical conductivity, since no electricity is passed through it, so there is no need of any electrical conduction. But yes, thermal conductivity is important. So good thermal conductivity is required, that is correct one. Ductility is there, students? No, ductility will be there when there will be the more when we will beat it and drawn thin wires to it. So there is no need of that because here it is asking for cooking utensils, and then high melting point is there. Yes, that is the correct one, that it must have the high melting point. Okay, so out of this, students, which one is responsible for that? So let us see here, and see, one and second, no, good electrical conductivity is not required for that. Then second one, good, then first and third, ductility is not required, so second will also be not the correct option. Second and third, student, obviously not, because electrical conductivity as well as ductility, both of them are not required here. And finally, first and fourth, yes, this is the correct answer, because yes, there is a need of a thermal conductivity, good thermal conductivity, as well as that of the high melting point. So answer, it will be consisting of high melting point and good thermal conductivity. Now see here, while performing an activity in the lab, a student poured phenolphthalein indicator to 4 different solutions, which is taken in 4 different test tubes, and a pink color is observed in the test tube. Now see here, out of the following solution which we have taken, which one will gives a pink color in that of the test tube? So see, we have taken the phenolphthalein. Now look at the first one. First one is of hydrochloric acid. So you know that phenolphthalein will not going to change its color when it is dropped or when it is poured into an acidic solution. It will change its color only in the basic solution. So hydrochloric acid is what? It is base, it is acidic, so there will be no such change in color will be seen if phenolphthalein will be added. Then phenolphthalein will be added to that of the sodium hydroxide. So sodium hydroxide, yes, it will going to change the color because it is basic in nature, so there will be change in the color. So sodium hydroxide will be the test tube in which we will find that pink color will be there. Now then the next one is the potassium chloride, KCl. In case of a KCl also, when we add the phenolphthalein, then it will not going to change its color because it is a salt, so it will remain colorless. And the fourth one is the sodium chloride, where there also it is a salt, so there will be no such change in the color we will find here. So the answer, it will be sodium hydroxide. Now which of the given is used as an antacid? So which of them is used as an antacid? Antacid is what, student? See, if there is a increase in the percentage of the acidic nature, so antacid is used in order to reduce the effect. First one is the sodium hydrogen carbonate, second one is the calcium hydroxide, third one is the magnesium hydroxide, and fourth one is all of this. Generally, we can use all of them, student. That is, sodium hydrogen carbonate is what it's something which we used in the form of a base, where it is used as an antacid in order to reduce the effect. Although magnesium hydroxide and calcium hydroxide is also there, but the answer, it will be sodium hydrogen carbonate. Baking soda is a mild one, so we will going to prefer the sodium hydroxide to remove the acidity. Sodium carbonate is what? It is a basic salt. Why it is a basic salt? Because of a strong acid and strong base. See, why salt is basically classified into 3 types. The first one is the neutral one, second is the acidic one, third is the basic one. So acidic salt will be what? In which the strong acid and weak base react together to form the salt. So such kind of a salt will be acidic salt. When basic salt, it means a strong base will react with that of the weak acid. That will be a basic salt. And neutral one, when a strong acid react with that of the strong base, then there is a formation of a neutral salt. So we can say here that sodium carbonate is a basic salt because it is a salt of a strong base and weak acid. So out of the 4, you will find that D, is the correct answer, in which the strong base is used in the weak acid. This will be the answer. Now see here the next one. Now sodium hydrogen carbonate, when added to acetic acid, it evolves a gas. Which of the following statements are true about the gas which is evolved? So sodium hydrogen carbonate, baking soda, when added to the acetic acid, then the gas which is evolved is, it turns lime water milky, it extinguishes a burning splinter, it dissolves a solution of a sodium hydroxide, and it has a pungent odor. So the first one is correct, that is turns lime water milky. Extinguish burning splinter, that is also correct because carbon dioxide is used for the extinguishing. It dissolved in a solution of a sodium hydroxide. So yes, we can say that sodium hydroxide can react with that of the with the carbon dioxide, and it has a pungent smell. This is not the correct answer. So out of this, student, second will be the correct option answer, in which the all the three are correct: first, second, and third. Now, which statement is not correct? Which statement is not correct about stomata? Each stoma has a pair of guard cells. Stomata help to exchange of gases. Stomata are tiny pores present in the leaves. When water enters the guard cell, stomata closes. So each stoma has a pair of a guard cell. That is the correct statement. Guard cells are what? Which basically help in the closing or opening of the stomata. Stomata help in the gaseous exchange. Yes, exchange of gases take place in stomata only. Then the stomata are tiny pores which is present in the leaves. That is also a correct one. That it is the pores which is present in that of the leaves. So tiny pore present on the surface of the leaf. When water enters the guard cells, stomata closes. No, this is the wrong one. The stomata opens when the water enters into it. So the answer will be the D1, that when water enters the guard cell, stomata closes. Now the mode of nutrition which is found in that of the plant. So the mode of nutrition which is found in the plant is what? That is the holozoic. No, you know that the holozoic is what? It is basically found in that of the human, where the ingestion, digestion, absorption, assimilation occurs. Then parasitic nutrition, no, that is also not shown by the plants. Saprophytic, they are dependent on the dead and decaying organic matter. And autotrophic mode of nutrition, yes, this is that mode of a nutrition which a plant shows, where they used to prepare their own food. Okay, so this is the answer, that is autotrophic mode of nutrition. D, it will be the correct option. Now the glycolysis of respiration takes place in, you know the student, what is the glycolysis? Glycolysis is what? In which the breakdown of a glucose into the pyruvate occur in the process of the respiration, that is called as the glycolysis. The first one is the aerobic and the another one is the anaerobic respiration. Anaerobic respiration and aerobic, in both of them the process of the glycolysis will occur, and this process will going to take place in cytoplasm. The next one is from the pyruvate to the respective product, like that of the lactic acid or the carbon dioxide. That will going to decide the kind of a respiration, and that may occur in mitochondria or even in the other one. So basically the glycolysis process of the respiration will occur in cytoplasm. Now, what is the correct path of a urine in human excretory system? Now, see here, the correct path of a urine in human excretory system is, you know that first of all, it will enter into the kidney, yes, in the kidney. and then it will enter into ureter, and after that urinary bladder, and then urethra. Okay, so urethra is what, through which the urine is discharged outside. Okay, so let us see that which one is the correct option. So here you will find that option number C is correct, since the kidney is there, ureter is there, and urinary bladder afterward, and then urethra. So the correct option will be, that is C. Kidney, ureter, urinary bladder, and urethra will be the correct option. Now see here, the cup-like proximal part of each of nephron, hollow proximal part of each of the nephron is called as. Now see here, when you look at the structure of a nephron, then you will find that there is a cup-like a structure is there. A cup-like a structure is there, and this cup-like a structure or hollow proximal part of the nephron is called as the Bowman's capsule. Okay, so that is Bowman's capsule, where the process, the ultrafiltration process will takes place. Okay, so that cup-like a hollow structure which is found there in the nephron is what, that is Bowman's capsule. Okay, answer will be Bowman's capsule. Now, autotrophic organism convert carbon dioxide and water into carbohydrate in the presence of. Now, see here, in the presence of carbon dioxide and water, autotrophic, actually it occur in the presence of the chlorophyll and sunlight. You know that the chlorophyll basically help in trapping that of the sunlight. So obviously this process will occur in the presence of the sunlight. Sunlight will help in completing that of the reaction. It will provide the sufficient amount of energy so that the process of the photosynthesis can take place. So we can say here that the conversion into carbohydrate, it will take place in the presence of the chlorophyll and sunlight. Answer will be chlorophyll and sunlight. Now see here, which one of the following material cannot be used to make lens? Out of the following, which is not to be used for the lens, students? See here, we can say that water, yes, water is having a reflecting surface, it is transparent, so we can use it for making lens. Glass, that is also a transparent material, so that will be also used for that. And then plastic can also be used because it may have a transparent material. It can be made up of a transparent material, so they can also be used for the lens, for making lens. And finally clay, no, clay cannot be used. Its reason is clay is what, it is opaque in nature, so it will be not used in the form of a in making that of the lens. Okay, so there must be, by this we have understood here one thing, that it must be a transparent one which can be used for the for making lens, students. Okay, so answer will be the clay. No matter how far you stand from the mirror, your image appear erect. Mirror is likely to be, it will be, see, in case of a convex and a concave, we have seen that there will be change in the image which appears erect, or it can be inverted also. But if there is no such change we have found, so it can be both, it can be either plane or it can be convex, both, student, because here there is not, it is not mentioned about that of the size. It is only mentioned that doesn't matter where you are standing, it will always be an erect. So erect is formed in both of the cases, that is plane as well as convex. So answer will be either plane or convex. Now the angle between the incident ray and the reflected ray is what, 60 degree. What is the angle of incidence? Angle between incident ray and reflected ray is 60 degree. So obviously if the incident ray and reflected ray is a 60 degree. So 90 minus 60 will be 30 degree. See here, this we can make it like, say, if this is the angle of incidence, this is the angle of refraction, this is the normal. If this is what, this is 60 degree, this is what, student? If this is what, student, this is what, this is 60 degree. If this is 60 degree, so this is what, this is a 90 degree. So 90 minus 60, this will be equals to 30 degree. So answer will be what? It will be 30 degree. So angle of incidence will be what? That will be 30 degree. Okay.